The most obvious and prominent conflict in The Walking Dead's opening episode is between humanity and the titular enemy, and it's the job of this first episode to introduce the audience to that. With the flash forward before the opening credits, we're immediately made aware of what's at stake. We're presented with a post-apocalyptic wasteland where fuel has run out, cars have been abandoned, and fly-ridden corpses litter the highway. We're also introduced to Rick, the protagonist, and within 2 minutes we're forced to watch him shoot an undead child in the head. A scene that is made all the more harrowing because she's still wearing her slippers and carrying a stuffed rabbit, and it's clear that there's a little girl somewhere beneath the peeled flesh. This sets the conflict up as one that's going to test Rick on every front. While the threat of zombies nibbling on his bits is very much an external one, the fact that the first victim of the series is a 10-year-old girl foreshadows all the moral or internal conflict that is going to come. It suggests that the show isn't just going to be about blood and gore. There will be a human element, and this will prove to be just as much of a challenge for Rick as the basic fight for survival. It's over the course of the first episode that we see Rick try to deal with the internal conflict of killing zombies, and this is probably the only conflict in the episode that is even close to resolved by the end. When Rick first leaves the hospital and finds a bike to ride clumsily to safety, he comes across a zombie in the late stages of decay. It's missing its legs, most of its viscera are trailing in the grass, and it's even difficult to tell what gender it is. Initially, Rick leaves the corpse to crawl about, and with shivers no doubt assailing his spine, he takes off. However, he returns to the zombie later in the episode, creating a sense of narrative completion. And while Morgan, side character, foil, and expository vehicle, is agonizing over having to kill his necrotic wife, Rick is seen putting the legless zombie out of its misery. Between his exit from the hospital and the start of his journey to Atlanta, he starts to come to terms with what is necessary. He kills the zombie sheriff, the half-corpse in the park, and the little girl. He never does these things with zest, more a kind of sickened resolution. At least that's the way I read his facial expression. But it is this internal conflict that helps to develop his character for the audience. It establishes him as a sympathetic human being, it makes him likable, it puts us on his side, and this makes the introduction of the next section of conflict extra effective. The fact that his wife is sleeping with his best friend and former partner. The introduction of what we might call the social sexual conflict in the very first episode is a shrewd move by the writers. Zombies and the threat of zombies will always keep a teen audience interested, but to expand the viewership, you need human drama. If one were to eliminate the zombies from the series, the social conflict alone would make for a decent show. Consider it. Rick is shot in the line of duty and slips into a coma. Everyone thinks he's going to die. Best friend and partner steps in to console the wife and ends up consoling her just a little too well. Then, bam, coma patient Rick wakes up and finds that his life has been taken from him.
Shane?
Othello was written on much less. This is a conflict that will have both external and internal elements to it. However, in the first episode of the series, the writers simply wanted to make the audience aware that it was coming, something that was deftly completed in only 2 short expository scenes. We learn very early, via dialogue and without actually meeting his wife or son, that Rick's marriage isn't going so well. And then much later in the episode, while Rick is wheeling toward the zombies of metropolitan Atlanta, that his former partner Shane, all open-shirted and alpha male, is coveting his wife. Seeing these 2 scenes is enough to get the audience's expectations whirling. You know conflict will be coming, but now it's not just zombies. Now it's leaking from every pore of the narrative. By way of conclusion, the 2 main conflicts, number 1, zombies in general, and number 2, the twisted social mess that Rick is inevitably heading towards, absolutely work together. They help to keep the drama high and the narrative rolling. It is natural that neither of these conflicts are tied off after episode 1. The job of the pilot is exposition, after all, to set up and establish. Its role is to show us the minefield that the characters have ahead of them, not to provide answers or solutions or closure. As an audience, we're given small victories and moments of catharsis. Rick learning to just shoot the zombies in the head and move on makes us feel like we've accomplished something, like we've watched our protagonist develop. But the big conflicts are all to come. The moments when the violent emotional turbulence that comes with infidelity meets the onslaught of 1,000 hungry cannibals. These are the moments that we hang in for, because this is what the conflict of the opening episode has promised.
Your words are coming through.